First of all, good evening, everybody, dear faculty members and the students of the Faculty of Architecture and Design of Bahçeşehir University. So, as the 10th meeting of ArchiDesign Talks today, this evening, we have a very special guest, Buğrahan Şirin. Let me say a friend of mine and also a friend of Mine Hoca from Taşkışla. So some couple of months ago, we met in the office of HPP in Istanbul with Buğrahan Şirin, and we talk about some projects, especially the high-rise projects, megastructures, kind of landmark projects in Istanbul and also in Germany. Because as you know, maybe you remember from the first meeting that HPP was a German-based architectural office, an international office, which is dominating for more than 80 years the architectural design in Germany and in some of countries, also in Turkey. So I do appreciate and I am really thankful for the response of Buğrahan Şirin that he is this evening contributing us with his speech, with his lecture entitled Business of Architecture. So it's an honor and pleasure of mine to introduce him this evening. So a brief information about Buğrahan Şirin, who is graduated from Istanbul Technical University with architectural degree. So he won BAU's Foundation Scholarship, allowing him to participate in transnational spaces, multidisciplinary urban design program in Germany. And after his studies, he worked in Turkey, Germany, Russia, and Netherlands with direct involvement in planning and construction of large-scale urban design and high-rise projects, especially. And he is currently managing the Istanbul office of HPP Architects as associate partner, realizing national and international projects of various types and scales. They are also participating in national and international architectural design competitions. So today he's going to talk about the process, how to manage the architecture and the design attitudes in a national and international way. So thanks a lot once again, Buğrahan, and the screen is yours. You can start. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Let me share the presentation. Once more, I will share screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
It's coming.
Okay.
Maybe. Okay, we can see. I can see it.
Okay, this is the topic is business of architecture. Two things which hardly comes together in the heart, business and architecture, and that's the topic of this presentation, actually, the clash. I just wanted to give a short info about HPP. In German, we call it HPP. And some of you guys maybe have seen Gerhard Feldmeyer's presentation some months ago. And he showed some of our projects and some information about HPP. The company is existing since 85 years. And it's the fourth generation now, changing to the fifth generation, because three of these gentlemen in the senior partners is retiring. One retired, one is retiring this year, another one is retiring next year, and these partners are success-based raising to the partnership. So if you're a dedicated architect, talented, you can go all the way up to senior partnership. You hold a share of the company, like a law firm, basically, and then you are basically it becomes your company, and you can't let first degree relatives work in the company, so it only always works on the success basis. HPP built over 1,200, we counted every year, is more than 1,200 buildings. I would say 90% in Germany and 10% outside of Germany over these 85 years. And these buildings are mostly buildings which are complex and large scale. That's where HPP can show its strength. If the building is complex and involving difficulties and technical solutions, then HPP can put his know-how into the process. So this is something valuable. And also the business side of architecture is very important. To survive for 85 years is not possible only designing nice buildings. So you should, of course, design properly, but you should also have a business understanding of how the financial aspects and everything works, so that you could survive long times. I would say it's maybe 50-50, the design and the other part of architecture. So I will come into that. Just to show some nice images before we dive into some interesting topics, irritating topics. We will talk about financial issues, but so HPP Istanbul was founded in 2012, and we have since then built around 5-6 buildings, which are sort of large scale, and we have some buildings in the pipeline that we are working on. One of the first buildings was AND Kozyatağı Tower in Kozyatağı, Kadıköy. And this was one of the first high rises to reach to LEED Platinum certification, which is a green building certification. And it's one of the landmarks that we have sort of achieved in Istanbul. And we also design interiors and the entire facilities. Another project which we have realized in Istanbul is the Pastel Project. This is finished this year, this project. It's also very large project, residential, and there's high rises and low rises included, and that was a design competition. The first project was also design competition, but actually when you say design competition, it's not only being nice and looking nice, it is more about being efficient, buildable, and to stay in the budget, and whether you can really achieve to build this building which you presented with renders as a real object. So it should come at the end as this as the rendering. So that was one of the criteria, of course, also. So in a competition, I mean, we are often in competitions, and in the competitions, basically, it's not only a beauty contest. You know, a lot of today you can 3D model everything and make really nice designs, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't fit to the realities of this location, you will fail. And that's why we call it the business side of the architecture. And this facade, for example, was calculated from the beginning on to be built as planned, as designed. And so we knew the cost of this facade, we knew the details, so that we could imagine that we could stay in the budget and still build this special facade. And then we could plan it from the beginning on according to this limitations of the budget. Another project which is being completed in Maslak. This project you wouldn't see now that much in the media, but it will be released in a couple of months, and probably we will see it all around. It's a very interesting design as a high-rise building, and it's almost completed this following couple of months. So this was sort of an introduction to HPP. I would say if there are more interested people in the crowd, you could always look at the HPP's website, and this is really not a just nice looking website, but there's a lot of information in it. For example, if you go to history, you would see when it started, and the first building that Helmut Hendrich built in Düsseldorf, for example, this was the first building, and the story of it, architecture and politics, because it was the time of Second World War, and then there are stories about it, and then you could see the development in the buildings in 60s, 70s. It's like a architectural history actually of the modernism last 100 years. So it's interesting to dig into that. And Helmut Hendrich is the gentleman on the right side, and the left side is Hubert Pechnik, the partner. And what was wise is at elder age, this gentleman transferred all their shares to the young partners and just stepped out of the company, and that made the company to survive almost a century now, and it's continuing. And so this is really interesting. You could really go and look into this website and learn also. It's because it's like a history class. So I would then go back to the presentation and to talk this presentation. You know, we could always look at the nice pictures, nice presentations, and nice images of buildings, but I think that is easy to do these days. You could just go into internet or watch in the YouTube a lot of presentations of buildings, but I think the process of how a building is built or realized, not designed actually, after designing, how it is realized is a key point to build. And that's something which we sometimes miss, because we, you know, architects, we prefer to be associated with our designs. We would like to have nice designs and show them, present them. Of course, it's also a lot of fun for me to show the buildings which we designed and built. But so we feel like sort of a superhero, you know, these pictures and a super architect photo. So we really believe that we can change something in the city. When we design a building, we can make something better. We can offer people better working spaces or better flats to live in, or better schools. We could really make an impact on people's lives. That's what makes us strong. And we built these buildings, we built cities, and we built things which really one-to-one touch the people. Here in the photos, you'll see some of the landmarks of human history. When there is human, then there is architecture. So we are really sort of a holy profession, which puts an impact on wherever a human arrives. Now I've just seen in the news that in the Mars there's a design. Sorry, not Mars. People are going. NASA is going to now to the moon to jump to Mars later, and they are planning some houses like settlements there. Maybe you have seen it. SYM designed some interesting structures. So architecture already reached to the moon now, and they are discussing how to build these cone-like buildings there. So wherever a human goes, then the architecture is actually following or going together. So all of these things makes us really feel like we are doing something holy, and I think we are really doing something special. Our profession is sort of really something special, and that's only possible when you are optimistic about the development, when you have a sensibility to life, you understand how life is structured. And a lot of great architects have quotations about what architect is actually. Like Oscar Niemeyer says, we can change the world. Very often, he says we have the power to change the world. Wir müssen die Welt ändern. This is his book in German. It should be in English, but he says we should change the world. We should make it a different space. Of course, he's a little socialist. He means something also political, but that's also part of our profession. Or Norman Foster says, if you weren't an optimist, it would be impossible to be an architect. Or another architect says, an architect is not an artist, but an optimist, realist. So we are not just artists. We are really in the daily life. And therefore we say an architect is an optimist. It's also a very common sentence in German, used very common in German also. So like this detective there, we look for the good and nice things, we find the mistakes and try to correct them. Just like this elder, century-old architects also projected, they all were very idealistic, and those guys probably. They really thought about changing the world. They designed cities, they pushed modernism further. This is just the last century. Before that, we have other architects, but this is what affected our time, our century. That's why I put these people in here. And like Gropius wanted to change the education system, or Oscar Niemeyer wanted to structure the society to a different type, or Le Corbusier designed cities which people would, he thought people would live more comfortably in that kind of machines. Or Miss van der Rohe thought, like an office building, high rises, glass high rises would be better for people to work in it. So he started this this high rise typology, and these are all because they really sincerely believe that with architecture you can go further. That's why we design to perfection. This is a detail that we produced here in Leipzig, in Germany, in a project. It was a structural detail of a corner, but you see the love and energy and effect that, or this energy given to this detail to realize it, all these fugas and how the screw will function there and how it will look from outside, and this calculation of it and how much it would cost actually. All these things we really dig into, and when we see something nice, we like it, we appreciate it, and then when we see something which is not nice, that stays inside us. We are really feeling like something wrong. I have to correct this. So you go to the municipality, as I did in this case. You rate them. What the hell are you doing? This tree needs some space next to it for water, and this is sort of as you become more and more architect. I would say in the life, these things become your genetical code, and you start to see everything differently. You start to see the mistakes in an urban situation or in a flat. You go visit your parents, and then you see that actually in this flat, it's not nice that this entrance is like that. Actually, if it would other way around, it could be nicer. You would feel more confident. So you start to see all those things, and you try to say something, change it at least, and. But these are all the good things, and now I would like to shift it a little bit to something else. This what we discuss cannot be separated from a man-made medium, I would say, which is the financial aspects, the money, and I think architect is not equipped enough to deal with this fact. At least a graduating architect, you learn it in the business, in life, but when you are graduated, you are sort of, you don't know what's coming. So I prepared this presentation sort of as the brutal facts of what might come when you guys are graduating, and what you will face in the first years, and even in the other years, coming years of your profession. So I hope it something stays in your mind. So the financial reality is something that we are not well prepared, I think, as a profession. And few of us, very few of us, has this kind of a business perspective and also becoming an architect. And these few people mostly are the ones who sort of succeed in developing their businesses. I can't say who is happy, who is not happy, but at least developing their businesses is these people. If you look at these well-known architects in the world, they are not only good designers, but they're also very well aware of some aspects of financial world. They understand how the numbers are working, and so that's something important. But somehow, this financial aspect, the money, is always associated with something bad, and that's why I made this slide. Like, we say we are superheroes, we can change the world, we can do a lot of things, but all the superheroes except the Tony Stark and Bruce Wayne has no financial relation or content around them. A superhero never spends money or uses money, at least. They always, or doesn't have a bank account, because this is sort of a shame. Like, money is something which is dirty, and as a superhero, you don't need that. You're a superhero. Or this is some sort of a proudness, and the money is something dirty. You always try to catch the bad guys with money, who are stealing money. But actually, and we are seeing that in Tony Stark case, for example, actually it works also, both of them together, to be a good person and still to have some money and to make some money from your business. And I think architects should also be sort of proud of doing that in a way. And you know, working class superheroes sitting in this on this beam there. Some of them are actually rich in there. There's also Batman and Tony Stark. So I think this is one of the vulnerable parts of an architect. You know, money, capital, and this hard business in the financial world, and you as an architect are actually in this sea. And then, if we don't know what's going on, we are sort of in the pool of the sharks. And so that's sort of the this picture sort of explains what I'm curious of discussing, hopefully after the presentation with you guys, how we can survive, because everything we do has something with money. Every line that we draw is money. Like if you draw a line curvy or flat, that could mean 100,000 euros on the construction side. So everything we do, every line that we do, equals to some sort of a cost. So my point here is that our optimism, you know, our pride and self-respect, self-esteem, it's I think also maybe failing us to achieve more with our architecture. This is pulling us back, sort of. So because we believe in the fundamentals of our profession, we think we believe that we can do something good to people that we live with, or to the society that we live in. And but are we really efficient in this? Maybe not that much if we are not aware of the financials in the background. So here I would discuss in a daily practice, in a daily routine of your time as a professional architect, and which decisions might include financial reasoning. And I try to sketch this very fast. It's not a perfect drawing, but let's see. So as an architect, this is you or me. Also, this is my circle as well. Let's consider you have a small office, and you have to get a job first of all. No, you have to hunt for a project. This could be your brother, cousin. You can build some house for or flat for them. It could be something very small, but it could also be a high rise where you are working with a bank and you're discussing $100 million or euros. So first you need to get this job, and you need to discuss the contract matters in this. So it starts there in the contracts. What's gonna happen with the revision fees if they change the design in the middle of the way? How do you compensate that? How do you protect yourself? And how do you calculate the cost of your work? So if you are done here, then you continue to your first target will be the permit drawings, the permission, building permission. So this is the big target, which is in second target in front of you. So with this project, you design, and you have to design cost aware. If you design, I mean, if a project has $100 million of a budget and you design over that, either your design will change dramatically and you will be really, really sad that the building won't be built as you planned it, or you will be out of the way and somebody else will come and build something else. It's very likely, and this we see it in the professional market all the time. Mostly the designs are changing. So the render that you produce in the beginning of the project, if it's not designed according to the budget, it ends up with something completely different out of your control. Most of the time you submit your drawings and it changes without not much really discussing with you, even in the construction site sometimes. So this already design includes a lot of cost awareness actually. And after the permit, your next target is the construction. So you continue the planning and detailing to construction, and you have to calculate how much energy you have to put into this planning process. Once this is one of your projects, right? So if you say you have a mid-sized like 5-10 people office, you need maybe two projects per year. So middle of the year, you would start to look for another job, of course. Actually, you always look for a job. And the second job comes in the middle of the year. And the same process repeats again. You have the permit in front of you, and you have to design according to the budget to reach to the permit. And then from permit, you would go to construction. The year is over, you again try to get a new job. So this is actually in a very, very simple way, a basic look how the circle is turning. You always have to look for new contracts, new jobs, and you have to deliver. And this is different than selling something, because we get a job, and then by getting a job we have to deliver. We have to work further to deliver something. But if a merchandise is selling something, they get the money and they give the product, and it's done. They just sell and make a profit on it. In our profession, it's not like this. We have to get the job, calculate how much we will work and how much it will cost until we deliver the final project, and then until the construction realization. And then we can look like where an architect interacts intensively with money or financial issues. I just put here four slides that might be some of them. It could be, it's definitely more, but employment contract is one of them. Running an architectural office, you will be intensively in the financial decisions. Service fee proposals, you will be in this financial decisions. Or designing with cost awareness, you have to follow some numbers. Right away when you graduate from the faculty, you are in the market. You will either be self-employed, or you will find a job basically to work for an architectural company. And there you start your first negotiations. You will discuss what the work conditions are, weekends, overtime, private spare. You will discuss your holidays. You will discuss the salary conditions, compensations, premiums, possibility of creating further opportunities, becoming a project leader, becoming a partner, if these are possible. And the conditions, if you are going to construction site, you will discuss the conditions at the construction site. So it starts right away from zero. And at that point, I recommend you guys be a bit more prepared. And of course, you can't demand too much because you are the weakest sort of circle but actually passionate circle in the chain. But still, if everybody comes with these conditions, then the employers will have to follow what you ask for also. So being aware about these topics is the first thing that will happen. In the later years, maybe you will manage a team of several people to deliver a project, or you will be a young partner, or you will have a company, and then you need to know more. These numbers are the 80% of the architectural offices in the world are 2 to 10 people offices. And larger offices in, let's say, in Turkey are 20 to 150 people and maximum times. But this 150 is pretty high. It doesn't reach to that, mostly 1 or 2 companies. Then there are companies which are over 300, 400 employees, HPPs in this group, SOM, FOSSO, NBPJ, and some similar corporate companies. And then there is another scale which is over 1,000 people. This very big architectural or engineering together companies like Niken Sekkei, Gensler, ICOM. So this range is massive as an architect, from 1, 2 people, 3 people, a friendship office or a small partnership, up to 3,000 people operation of a massive structure is the scope that we will fall into, and we will all be in this range. I'm in this 300 plus box now, and some other will be in 5 to 12, some will be in 3,000, and this massive companies like our company, let's say, with 500 architects, is not run by somebody outside of the business. It's run by architects. All our partners are architects who learn the business on the way, and it's not run by a professional, like, let's say, CEO or something. It doesn't work in our world. The architectural company should be run by an architect, because the clients expect the top guys to be architects. They don't want to make a deal with a banker. You could hire a professional from financial institutes or somewhere and put it on top of an architectural company. That doesn't work. So, even if the scale goes to 3,000 architects, there you might start maybe, but still everybody, the managers are on top managers are always architects. So running a team or an architectural office, what would be the points that you are fighting with daily? Is these points: employee cost, rent, electric, water, heating, insurances, furniture, renewal cost, license cost, educational cost, travel, stationery. And I want to feel a bit insecure. I want everyone to feel a bit insecure and really like if you would feel insecure, it's good. Then we are deep enough, and we are feeling something. And this is, for example, a calculation which you guys should maybe keep in mind while you are running, if you are running a team or you are doing a cost calculation about your business. And this shows a calculation of a let's say an architect earns like a Bitcoin, let's say ARC coins as a currency, and let's say you earn 1,000 ARC coins a month, and the cost of this is actually 1.645 to the company. You should, it starts here first. If you calculate with the net numbers, you are completely out of the picture. And then on top, this is, for example, our server system, which is costing around 20,000 euros and then plus 2,000 every year maintenance cost. So these costs are coming on top of your employee calculations. And then on top, in your business, you will see that the software will not be free as in the university anymore. You will have to pay for every program that you have on your computer, basically. And that will cost a lot of money. Like it's just like an employee, you will pay 2,000-3,000 euros, 1,000 euros for this such programs. For example, these are the programs that we are using, and you have to buy these programs and pay them. And these are all kind of cost. And then if you again calculate your costs of running a team or architectural office, you will say a net 1,000 architectural coins will equal 4,000 architectural coins at the end of the day as a cost to you. So 4 times of the cost of a net income. And this has to be monitored. We have special program for this. So we register every hour that we work in any project into this database where we could generate the cost and see how much actually, how much energy we give to a project financially and hourly. So we could see what we are receiving as a result of the contract, which is done by the client, and then how much we are spending, and then you could see if you are doing a profit or you are in the minus. And I would say in our architectural world, we are naive in this issues. It's a lot of practices go bankrupt because they don't watch the cost, they don't watch the revisions, and they don't see this. They don't have this overview of how much I'm spending, how much I'm earning. They have a gush feeling about it, but that's not enough. You have to have a full control of your costs when you are doing a project. This could be a one project and you are 2 people. You could see how much you are spending and how much you are receiving. And actually what you will receive, it should be minimum what you spend and over profit on top. And so there comes the question, how do you calculate the cost, the worth of your creation? You know, for you, it's probably a very high number, like what you design, but you are in the open market and there is somebody to pay for it, so they will come with another idea. In that case, you have to calculate, you have to base your calculation on something. You can't just say, my building is the most beautiful building in the world, that's why I want that much. I want 100 ARC coins. And but he will come and say, no, for me, I mean, my construction cost is that, and you will work that many hours on it, so this is my proposal. And you have to discuss these issues. You have to be able to have good reasons to discuss. And one reason is, and one way is, you can do a man-month calculation and how much effort you will spend on the project and see your minimum cost on that. And on top, how much you will add. That's your creativity, basically. there, if you are on the I'm the cool designer path, which is the left arrow, I'm the cool designer, I can design really nice buildings, I can make you really nice images renders, and you are entering an area where your price is being speculative, because you can't reason how nice and beautiful your design is. It's not easy to make everybody believe in what you believe, and it's becoming difficult to measure your cost. But if you are in the planning side, planning is more organized activity, then you can reason your price. You can say my monthly month cost is like that, and I put profit on it, and I will work that many hours with that many people on this project. If there are revisions, I will cost that much, and then you can show sort of legitimately your calculation to the clients. And it doesn't have to be what they expect. You can go as high as you want. You can say, I'm doing very special design, so I'm multiplying 10 times my employee cost. That you could also say, but at least you have something to lean on, and your decisions will be more rational. You'll be cost aware, and actually engineering is sort of on the right side of this diagram, where they really calculate with hours and man months. Architects are sort of we have the design aspect in us, which needs a lot of intellectual input. So you can't really measure how, like it's like a painting, Pablo Picasso. You can't say Pablo Picasso worked on this painting 2 hours, so it will cost that much. No, you can't say that 1 hour of Pablo Picasso is $10 million maybe. You can say like this. So we should merge these two directions, like the design aspect and the planning, and sort of find a way, and then explain your fee actually, which is basically our fees are architectural design fees are mostly over the construction cost, because this is the value that you are creating. Construction cost is something that directly relates to you. You can this is the added value that you give to the client. That's the cost of the building. So from cost of the building, you actually get a percentage. And there are some methods to calculate that. There are in Turkey, or this is in Germany and Turkey. I just got two simple diagrams here. If you are more interested, we can look into it later. So you can calculate basically how much you need to charge as a reference point, as a mid-range architectural office, and then you can decide to go up or down from these figures. And this is how the market is currently running. And designing with cost awareness is something which is extremely important. The building on the left side is Anede Kozeta, and we knew that our budget were around $1,000, for example, per square meter, no? And we planned this building really keeping this figure in mind. That's why it ended up being as we designed it. On the right side, there's another building, which is in Münster in Germany. The purpose of this building was to a little show off the modernity of a company, and they had a larger budget. So this building is designed within that budget. That's why this building has, for example, a double facade. It has a wooden windows all the way up. It has wooden, very nice windows. We couldn't say, well, it looks nice in wooden windows, but that's why I'm going to do my tower also with wooden window. You can't say that, but you have to know the cost of it and if it's possible or not. Or the structural system should be very straightforward if you are building for $1,000 per square meter versus $2,000 per square meter. And it comes to a point where you are designing in your office, you have to know the cost of lines that you are drawing, right? A client, for example, can come easily and say, I would like to close this fuga here, for example, and then I would build, it's easier for me, I don't have to deal with the structural difficulties. These corners will create some insulation problems, so I want to delete this, and it will cost me a lot of money. At that point, you could actually, to convince them, you should show that you know the cost of this fuga, for example. I just roughly calculated. It's 4 meters high, and two facades, 135 meters wide, 43 square meters per floor, times 21 floors, 900 square meters, and facade cost per square meter is $250. And if you multiply, you'll see that actually doing this fuga instead of going straight will cost $225,000 more than doing it straight. You know, this is the cost of this building this effect. But this is necessary for this design to show two slices, two very nice slices of geometries. We needed this fuga, so we could say to the client, look, we are spending here that money, but we could save it from another area, so you could show them something else. If you don't do that, if you are not aware of the cost of your lines, what you are drawing, then you are weak against, you are naive and against the financial realities. And client is not a bad person. They invest money in this, and they are like your, actually you get married to them. You know, when you make a contract with a client, you, for your beautiful design, you are walking together. They are giving money and you are designing. So they are, I don't want to mean that they are any evil or something, but it needs convincing, it needs communication. And to communicate with the clients, you have to communicate also the financial part of your designs. So these buildings are built exactly like planned. In this case, Ane de Cositea, for example, left is the real rendering, right, is the real photograph, because it was built with cost awareness. And that is because HPP has this approach, design approach, and the understanding of communication and experience also. And another photograph and the render that you could see. Then, I mean, to build this what we want, you of course compromise. You compromise somewhere else where you think it's not, where you believe you can compromise. So these photos are showing the planned and built. It's not really easy to find in the market. You can see really nice renders in the internet, but go and check the buildings, the realized ones, and you will be disappointed, or you will see something went wrong there. For example, to build this facade, to have this effect, we had to design everything into the finest detail with knowing the cost of it. It's another project that we are finishing. I showed you before in Maslak. This building will be also very beautiful, beautiful building in Maslak area, almost completed, and you could see what we built, what we intended to build. And one of the challenging parts, for example, was this triangle area here has a steel structure, which is costly, but that's the only thing which is costly in this building, which is unique. So we discussed with client to realize this before even we designed the building. We designed the building and we said, look, we want to do something like this. It will cost that much extra for you, but it will be spectacular. So we showed him the images, and then he believed in it. He said, okay, that's a very interesting and nice idea, and then we can put some budget on that. But he knew the cost, what would come. We can't just design something and not knowing the cost and then give it to the client, and then things wouldn't work. So that's a summary of the presentation. I just want to read one of the major weaknesses of an about to graduate or even working till ages architect in his or her understanding on the business side of architectural practice. So you could be a new graduate, or you could be an architect working till 20, 30 years. You could still not understand the business, but that wouldn't really be good for you. How to earn a living from the profession that we love, how to develop a business to offer opportunities to younger architects so we could grow all together, how to stay happy within the circle of a heavily profit-focused market economy, because we are sort of, even if you build something very small or very big, you are in the financial market economy. You have to deal with currencies. Without this key perspective of business thinking, an architect is destined to fail in his or her career. This weakness, happening often and repeatedly, is likely to affect the confidence of our profession. It's also not good for the overall picture if we are failing about these decisions. An architect is seen naive and weak, and this doesn't help anybody. You know, it should support everyone. furthermore, we could all, if you don't understand the business strategies, and we won't be able to provide good products, good schools, good offices, homes, hospitals, or such vital structures for happy and healthy societies, because we will not be able to build the sustainable and good planned buildings if we don't know the cost of it. All of these are linked to each other. So that was the end of this presentation. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, dear Buğrahan. So was a valuable presentation, including, I think, the reality and the background of the daily life of the architect today, and the architectural offices, their positions. So so we don't need romantics anymore, but we need optimistic and people who are tended to be following the reality, today's realities. So I think that was a really a valuable presentation, especially for the students. So that was a kind of a perspective to their nearest future. So the roles, the officers, the structures of the officers, and we have seen, we have experienced the multi-faced position of the world architecture, of its mission, financial issues, social issues, and etc. So it is not only a kind of a designing performance. It is not an artistic performance. It is a kind of a reconciliation or intersection between many disciplines. So we need to get to be integrated to people, to other disciplines. So thanks a lot. I have a couple of questions, 2, 3 questions. Maybe I can start. Then we can give the word to the participants. Maybe they have some questions or additional comments to your lecture. So maybe you can say a few words more about the organization in the big scale offices, as you have shared with us, and let me say boutique offices, because there is a kind of a prejudice always between the students or between the academics. So you can show yourself and you can develop yourself in the small scale offices, but you do play only the given predefined role in big scale, big organizations of architectural offices. Let me call whale offices. So how do you define this situation? Because you are a part, you have a precise part in the HPP. So from this perspective, how things are going, how is it possible to get to be a partner in the office? Is it enough to be enough talented or in etc. So about the structure of the offices, the question. And the second question is, if I turn back to the sentence, wir müssen die Welt verändern, Oscar Niemeyer's word. So do we still have the chance as the architects, as Bernard Tschumi has mentioned some decades ago, that we have the abilities? Do we have the abilities to change the daily life really, or is this just a romantic dream? So which side we do stay, on the capitalist side or on the social side? Let me say, because as we know, as this is another word from Karl Marx, so the capitalism does always shape the geography, its own geography. If it cannot use the already existing geography, it is changing the geography. So under these conditions, regarding the 21st century, what are the 21st century design principles in the future? Maybe you can connect the second and the third questions to each other. So thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Of course, it's difficult to follow and difficult topic. I don't often present it also, and it's, I respect the people who really listen till the end, but it's important. So what is a boutique and a larger whale architectural company? We have in our head office 300 architects, and I can say the possibility of being locked up into one project for 1 or 2 years and drawing only a detail is possible. And you could really be in a team for 2 years and just do door drawings. And this could happen to maybe 5 to 10% of the architects. And but it's mostly, I think, if the office is around 30, 40, 50, even further, maybe 100, you are doing basically again everything. You are switching projects, and so as a new graduate architect, I think in Turkish case, since our largest offices are maybe 100, you do everything probably, and that I would still, I mean, even in the largest scale, I think an architect is doing a lot of different things. If you are not in a very big whale and you are very unlucky, then it's possible that you would stay in a project for 2 years. That's possible, but I think that's also a challenge of patience. But I can follow your argument. In a smaller office, smaller team, you are learning basically more faster. But you might also be wrong learning from your masters if the architects and the directors in the small boutique office are not really to the right point, then you might also be learning the wrong things. So it's good to have a variety of partners. I mean, in our case, we have 7 guys on top, and then we have underneath, like I'm not sure, but like 12 to 15 partners. And underneath of them, there are associate partners like myself, 20 people. And then there is project managers. So it's a big tree, but you have the chance to work with different partners. You have to learn from different groups, different project leaders. That's nice. So you are not locked up with one mentality. You change a project, you change mostly a partner also, who is directing the project. And that partner will have a different approach than the other one. So that's also nice. And you could see the difference of approaches, and you can say, I'm feeling closer to this guy actually, which is happening a lot in our company. Some people are closer to that partner, some people are closer to that partner. So it's, I hope I could explain it on our case at least. Changing the world, are we romantics? I think if you start with saying changing the world, yes, we are romantics, but I think if you start to say changing the area that we are living in, the surrounding, the environmental, little by little, that's where I would say we are realistic then, because we can really make an impact on our close environment. We don't have to think too big. I think if every architect is doing some sort of right things in its close environment and surrounding, the big effect is very high. That's what I mean, in Turkey, we also see that where architects are visible, but in Europe, or let's say a bit more developed first world countries, you see that the small efforts that the architects do are collaboratively, like in the big picture, helping massively to the comfort of a city, for example, because every individual is doing a little bit of their piece. And so I think we can make an impact. We can change the things, but we are not politicians, and we don't have all the tools. But if you use our own tools, I think it could be a big change. I mean, at least compared to many other professions, we are in a very front role in the society to change some things for better. 21st century design trends are, I think, it's not easy because world is getting more and more polarized. Rich countries are getting richer and poor countries are getting poorer. So in this situation, I think we can't talk about the architecture trend because, for example, we would like to enter the African market more. That's a strategical decision of many big offices. But when you go to African countries, you see that they don't need your super high design architecture. They still need the basics. So there you can't really compare the styles. In Europe, we are building with wood a lot. Now these days we are building sustainable buildings which are using very less energy. And if you ask me in the developed world, in Europe, I would say we are going for sustainability, like Herfed Meyer explained, cradle to cradle, circular economy, more efficient buildings, and this is the direction that the developed countries are going. But if you go to the lower range in the world, the survival thing is still going on. So it didn't disappear. They still need hospitals, very simple hospitals, even prefabricated. Even no architect, just with engineers. So I can't really define an overall tendency, but I think the modernist movement started in the beginning of the 20th century is still going on, and that means it's hand in hand with the capital, actually, with the production and standardization, industrialization, and architecture related to these facts is still going on, and looks like it will go for a while.
And you have to adapt yourself to the local conditions. As an architectural office in Africa, it is different.
Yes.
In Germany, it is different. So, and also the stories are different. If I do remember our conversation some months ago, you told me how you start with a public buildings project, for example, by discussing collaboratively with the municipality members, with the contractor, with the investor, with the architectural architects, and you try to write the scenario together. So this is, I think, one of the main difference when I compare with Turkey and Germany, for example. And if I do not misremember, that you should promise to contribute the public surroundings of the project you are responsible of.
Yes.
So this is also positive.
Yes,
In my
it's more
opinion.
more social oriented. You could say, in the range, the Turkey. If you compare Turkey and Germany, Germany is Turkey is on the American way of capitalism. It's more dynamic, and Germany is more conservative on the social side. And as you said, the projects has to somehow have a social impact, positive impact on where it's built in Germany. For example, the gated community, like we built ArchiDesign Pastel, it's a beautiful project, but it's a gated community. We fight it to not to make it a gated community. We said, let's try not to build these walls around this site, and maybe it works. We really dig deep. It didn't work, but we still did the design in a way that we said later, maybe if you remove this wall, it still works. It works. It would still work, and that we did it. But in Europe, they wouldn't let us build a site with 100% privacy. You have to let people pass and these things. So that's a little difference. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So, if I look at the participants, so Marzian Nori, she's raising her hand up. So, Marzia, you can ask your question or comment.
Hello, hocam. I'm
Hello.
a second year student and I wanted to ask something. Buğrahan Hoca said that if we are starting to our job, first we can experience something to do for ourselves or our friends, for example, sister or brother, right? To have a better experience. But in real life, if we want to work in offices and in a company, for example, how will be the process of first steps? For example, when we are starting to our studies in project, first we have some sketches and some, for example, tasks first time, and we are developing that. But we couldn't have the perfect, let's say, the project. And we are free in our sketchbooks and etc. in that platforms. But I think that freedom we can see in real life. For example, I checked the HPP site and the history. It's written when the National Socialist came. that freedom is limited. So I wanted to ask about the freedom of the designers. How will be in that in real
You
life?
know, the less free you are is when you are building for your cousin, you know, because you know how he or she would feel when you do something wrong. You know, that's the strongest connection, one-to-one. If you build for your brother, sister, a house or a flat, or if you renovate their bathroom and you do something wrong, that will be your lifelong problem. But if you build for $100 million project, if you do a toilet a little 5 centimeters lower, you won't really feel it, and nobody will come back to you. Probably they won't find you. You are lost in the in the crowd. But that's why I said this kind of a very small scale is actually very good. I mean, I am currently renovating our flat, and my wife is my biggest client now. The most difficult client I have is my wife, because you know you can't fool you you can't fool. But in this very big projects, you are one of the 20 architects in this project, and you will be controlled all the time. So if you do mistakes, somebody will catch your mistake. So you're sort of safer in this aspect. But the freedom, you are of course not as much free. And actually, what is a freedom? You should also think that if it's making mistakes, then let not be free. For example, if you go to a big company, you will use a lot of standards. You will use programs according to how the company dictates you. You can't just say, I'm gonna use it like that. And so you have to follow a lot of rules. And then when you enter the market, you will see that. Even if you make a sketch, that's what also we have in the company. We said everything that you sketch or you do should be presentable. You can't just make some sketch and then throw it in the bin or like make it ugly. No, you have to make it nice, and so that we could later, maybe that becomes a building, or that becomes something, especially in the competitions. We really document every line that the team is doing, because for example, the Pastel Project, we were very desperate. It was an international competition. There was OMA, KPF, there's SOM, like very big companies, 6 companies. We were in the competition. We were really desperate. We had like 30 options. None of them made us happy. And at one point, one of the sketches that one of us did slipped through the table, and we saw that actually this is nice. Why don't we go for this sketch? But you know, because we said we keep all the sketches and everything on the table. If you would just sketch and throw away, you are free, but you know, you might lose the point. So you will be dictated to work in some ways in the market. And I think this is not always something bad. You can learn from it, and you can develop your freedom actually from these dictations. Why not? Could I answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much, hocam. It was useful.
Thank you. So, Eslem Umur, she's maybe rising her hand up. So, do you have any
Yes,
questions?
hocam. Yes, first of all, thank you for the presentation. It was really successful and clear. I had a question about the differences of architecture understanding in Germany and Turkey, but you talk about that. I took my answer, but I have one more question about the what do you think about the architecture and business in different countries, like in Germany and in maybe Turkey? Is it
Yes,
all
that's
about
good.
budget
Yeah.
or something other things?
Well, that's a good question. I think in Turkish architecture world, we are less aware of the cost matters. We are very free, nice, good designers in I would say in Turkey. We design very nice, very good things, but not necessarily knowing the cost of it or the business side of it. So they get lost on the translation. You know, I would say in German side of the picture, it's a little, the designs are, I would say, even more boring than what we do, but the possibility of realizing is higher. So at the end, you at least have a averagely good designed building built versus in Turkey a lot of very nice proposals which are not built because of being not financially feasible. And this actually we see in the competitions, in the competitions which happened last years, that many, very few of the competitions are built, which the municipalities asked for. You know, there were a lot of winners and publications, but if you look what is built, it's really not much, and that means not only architect, but maybe the organizers also calculated wrong, and that could also be. It's not only us who is not aware of the cost, but principally, I mean, it's Germany and Turkey is similar, I would say, in architectural approaches. Realistically, engineering background, these are similar markets. Compare it with China or Africa. This is complete different world. So we are still close. We are talking about not super distances, no differences. And could it be answered to your question?
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, is there any other question, dear participants, dear students, or any additional comment?
Actually, I have a comment about group work. Actually, as you know, working in an office is a group work, and you have to respect to all tasks and works. But for example, last semester, and we had a group work project, but actually, to be honest, it was really hard to. It's really hard, and sometimes we told our professors to, can we change this, can we work individually? And actually, I want to ask about what is the, let's say, keyword or better way to have a nice group work. I mean,
that's a very good question. That was my problem also when I graduated. I don't know if it's me personally, I never knew, or if it's the education I got or something, but I think it's the self-confidence that every architect has. Every architect thinks, I know it better. I think it would work like this. You would always anticipate, and you have your ideas, which you really believe sincerely inside, deep inside, you believe that would work, and you are really honest about it. But somebody else has also their own opinions. And this very good point, that's how it works is, I think you have to structure the communication. When we do a competition, there are two ways. Some partners in our company, they just bring you a sketch and they say, that's the design, draw it and make it nice. That's one way. But it's not our way. So what we do is we believe in the communication because we experienced it before. We are 4-5 people in a competition, so we say first, everybody creates ideas for next 2 days. Create ideas yourself or with somebody next to you, doesn't matter, with your grandpa or whoever. But then we put them on the table, and then we sometimes, if we can't decide what is good, we make a score chart. We say, we put the criterias, and we put points on every option, and then we take the winner out. Because there is never 100% correct. You know, think the design is never 100%. There's always a better idea, better thing. And by the time you learn that, in our company we have a proportion. We say if you win 1 out of 10 competitions, you are normal, you are fine, you are safe. If you win 2 competitions out of 10, you are a good designer. And this is a worldwide fact. Every company, big companies, or doesn't matter, you as an architect, if you win like 1 out of 10 competitions, you are fine, you are safe, you know. And you will lose 9. You know, everybody looks at the winners, but actually I lost so many competitions in my career. We are, you know, our Istanbul office, let's say, Istanbul office is considered to be a good design company in the group of HPP. We are very good designers and we are successful. We won a huge amount of competitions, but the number of what we lost is much more than that. And by the time you get used to it, you most of your life you lose competitions as architect. So that's where you should start. But of course that's a motivation also. You always try to do it better, and look for ways how to win. Maybe it could also be that you don't have the best ideas. Maybe your classmate has the best idea. If the target is to win the competition and not to prove yourself or not to get the best grade from your teacher, then the picture changes, because you have this target and you try to get this target with this group of people, and then you try to say, well, this guy has some bright idea. This guy is doing very nice images. I let him do the idea part, and then this guy would draw it very nicely. He makes very nice floor plans, for example. The other guy with the best idea, he can't do floor plans. He will fail. Or the other guy can, this. I think it's this target and what you are aiming. But of course, when in the university, in your studies, you are mostly alone. You try to prove yourself also to your professor to get some good scores, So you are always a warrior. But the day one, you will start in an office. You will land in a team, and you will have to follow the structure a little bit. If you are lucky, if you are unlucky, you will work for your cousin and or your mother, father, then it's even worse.
Thank you, Hocam. But even when we
Yeah.
show our project to our father or mother, actually they have always opinions, but it's not, how can I say, they look very in a simple way, not like our as an architecture view or something. And it's really hard to explain to them this.
Yeah, this is all your business life. You can build a huge high rise and the client sits in front of you, a multi-million-dollar rich person, and you could present for 2 hours and he could say, I didn't like the color. Let's see the next project.
Exactly.
That would happen. But at this point, you should be able to explain and reason, put the reasons why you design it like this. And I think you shouldn't give up. In many cases, we were, we had weird comments, but you have to explain why you did it like this. And if you explain it good, most of the time they understand it. They might still not take your project, but they understand your point. If it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. They understand why you did it like that. You should be able to stand behind it.
You mean we have to prove every decisions or every, let's say, movements, shapes? We have to prove them to the client. Why this is like this, why this is like this.
Yeah, you can't prove everything, but
if they ask always, so we have to be ready for all questions.
the questions, yes, and also the communication should be open. If they say, well, this facade is like that, or this floor plan, the elevator could be like this, you could also leave it open. You could say, yeah, maybe it's correct what you say, so we will investigate the situation. Yeah. Communication is important, If you are stuck in your opinion and you say, I won't change it, is this the way, you would crash at one point. But the communication it should be open. This channel should be open. You should take critique. You should note it down. Think about it. Sometimes they also give right things. A client who has nothing to do with architecture, they are very likely to come up with some good ideas. A lot of times.
Yes, it's right. Thank you, Hocam.
So is there any other additional comment or question? Maybe I can ask if there is no additional comment. The last question. I don't want to ask any pessimistic question, but Buğrahan, I have remembered some years ago, Koop Himablau, one of the partner of the Koop Himablau, Wolf Pri, if I do not misremember, he was in Turkey, in Istanbul, for a conversation. And at the end of the conversation, there was a question about regarding the young architects. So about the possibilities, about the benefications for young architects, and etc. And he said very clearly that there is no country for young architects, he said. So that was the name of a movie, of course, No Country for Old Men. design, etc. So no country for young architects, he said. And accordingly, so what do you think? So about the numbers of the architects in Europe and in Turkey, are there too much, or what is the current situation, salaries, the chances, and etc. So how do you see that?
I think everybody finds his or her way.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody also has to be an architect, but the group that I graduated with, most of them are architects, but there are different kinds of architects also. Some of them sell products, some of them are working on a construction site, some of them are designing in the office, some of them do graphical design. There is different. I mean, architecture gives you a world. All those things. Gives you a world perspective, which you could do different things. Musicians, I have very successful professional musicians graduated as architects, and I think there is always something to do. I'm not pessimistic. I'm really optimistic about an architect because of the training that they get, because of their awareness of the environment and like surrounding. I'm pretty optimistic. But of course, first years, if you start to work in the market, you are a little unlucky. But I think this is not something to give up. You would. I mean, I remember myself also. I was 2 years in Russia in a construction site, and there was winters -30, and we were controlling the rebars on the construction site. And I was thinking, what the hell does this has to do with architecture? And but if you stay on the track, I think you always end up with somewhere. I think the number of architects, I don't really. It doesn't really interest. I think it shouldn't really interest anybody. I mean, there is enough catastrophe scenarios in the world. I'm pretty optimistic about an architect because of the qualifications he or she has.
Okay.
What do you think?
Any questions? So my opinion is, I remember. So in my family, my uncle and my aunt, they've got their architectural office. They are both architects, and this architectural office in 80s, 70s, and in 80s, especially 80s in Turkey, won many awards, architectural competitions awards. So this office was based on competitions, designing, and some of them have become real. But I remember that only 20 or 30 offices was participating in the competitions. So now, if you compare the current situation with 80s, it is minimum 100 submitted projects, in each
Yes.
competition. So I do not want to write the pessimistic scenario, but things are getting to be harder, of course, for the generations. And so these are the tough times, and as you have mentioned, that people should be prepared. The students should be prepared for the professional life, and this is, I think, the main point, and it's not easy anymore. It has not been easy, but it is really more difficult than if you compare with the previous times,
Yeah, I mean, the competition-wise, yes, this is the current situation. There's a lot of, because the competitions are open also, open competitions, everybody can apply. And it's very easy to put together 2 laptops and create images, renderings, floor plans. And that's why anybody can join. Before it was not like that. You would have to have some skills and some infrastructure. Today it's very easy. That what makes the competitions so crowded. We don't join the competitions, open competitions, because financially it's not feasible. The energy you spend is not paid. And I think we believe everything you do should be, if you deliver something, it should be somehow financially compensated. We only join competitions which are paid and invited if likely, but it has to be paid. The effort that you give has to be paid. That's why I sometimes also discourage a lot of friends of mine also and young architects to put a limit on the competitions. You are giving a lot of your brain energy and effort on this process of designing, and then in return you don't really get anything, and you never know on the other side if the jury is thinking correctly. There's so many open issues in a competition. You never know if it will realize, if the jury is thinking correctly, if there is another motivation in the competition. It's really, really difficult. But I think today what is good is there is more channels. Before, your uncles, they were uncle,
My
they had only one way to get a project. It was the competitions. But today, you can create your own project. Even you can crowdfund your own project. There's a lot of projects in Europe and maybe in Turkey also. They crowdfund. They buy a land together and then they build an apartment on it just with crowdfunding and this kind of thing. You could create your own furniture designs and you could build them and then sell them all yourself. Like there is all this kind of new channels which you don't need this sometimes to become an office to be big, but as one person, two person with your friend, you could develop something, and I think that's also encouraging.
Do you think that the German architects or young architects are luckier than the Turkish? Because per year, I think 500, 600 competitions are announced in Germany. In Turkey, it is, I think, on average 20 or 30 if we are lucky. So, so what do you think about this difference? So does it give a fundamental atmosphere, a benefication
Yes,
to
it
the
does, of course.
architect in Germany?
Yeah, it does. I mean, more of the buildings are designed with competitions and by architects in Germany than in Turkey. For example, in a very remote area in Turkey, if there is a school to be built, nobody knows who's building that, if there's an architect there. But in Germany, in anywhere, if there's a school building or public building to build, there will be a competition, and there will be people competing with the quality of their designs, because the fees are same, the prices are same. They won't raise with the prices. That's what our market is also a little weak. We have very different prices, especially in these times when the market is low. We call them kamikaze. You have these companies who are like just so low, you can't say they can't finance their business. And that's not good. Then the clients also start to pick architects by their fees, the lower fee they try to pick. But actually, if the fees are same, like a doctor, if it's same, then they look for the quality. And that's what's happening in Germany, actually. The minimum price level that you calculate in the websites in Germany is mostly the average, let's say, is mostly the fee that every architect gives to the client. But in Turkey, we have this Scala, we have also this calculation websites in Chamber of Architects, and this is already very low. And then people go down from this figure, and that creates also inequality in a way. So I think they are more fortunate to be in Germany, sort of the architects who are in Germany, because they also there is the possibility of realizing is also higher than Turkey.
Yes.
But not necessarily the designs are. I can't say designs are better. Most of these competition results are mostly monotonous, and the price-wise, fast and cheap buildable buildings are winning these competitions because public money. So you can't create a state-of-art design. It's not easy. In that sense, you can't say all competition winners are good projects, like design-wise. It's sometimes you see what is this building? It's like just a box with some holes on it, and it wins the competition. And but yeah, it's a little lucky currently in Europe, I would say. But in Turkey, it was also like that, like 6-7 years ago. We were also lucky here because we could realize really nice buildings, big scale buildings, when Europe was not able to build large scale. Long years, Europe didn't build any towers. In Germany, our company is a high-rise company, and HPP didn't build for 30 years, maybe no high-rises in Germany until maybe 6-7 years ago. It started again to high-rises. But at that time, we were in Istanbul building like every year one high-rise. Like our company was winning competitions, and we were doing that. So it's also a matter of times. I think now it's not the perfect time in Turkey, but I'm optimistic. I think it already started to pick up slowly, and I think it will pick up. And I hope when the guys are graduating, I think second classes are a bit luckier than the last ones. The second classes, I think when they graduate, there might be a more lively market, and the fourth years should maybe invest on improving their skills in anywhere. I would say in any like construction site, your uncle's summer house, just competitions. And I think it should, like this 2 years. After 2 years, it will start to pick up again. I think in Turkey.
Okay, well, so the last question, let me say, once again, the Marzia, the last question.
Yes, hocam.
Okay.
I want to ask about the education part, because there was so important architects like Tadoando, and he had no education, but after disadvantages of this let's say situation, he worked hard, and he had his own studio, and actually had a really nice project. In real life, can some persons join some, let's say, platforms like architectural platforms and work there easily, or how can I say, like, can they participate to these projects or these process easily?
I think it's exception. It happens very, very rarely, and these are exceptional cases. I wouldn't take this as a role model. I think what we learn in the architectural education is this logical thinking and realistic looking at situations with reasons and results, trying to solve problems. You don't realize that maybe when you study, but later in the business, you meet with people studied, I don't know, some other things, or engineers. You will work with engineers, and you will say, how can they think about such a simple thing to correct? They should have thought about this before you tell them. But you are the one always, as an architect, you are the one always putting the argument and the solution on the table somehow. And I think this has something to do with your education, and the way you are thinking is always solution oriented. And then you will see that in the market that your education actually was important, not necessarily the things you learned, but the way you learned how to think and to always try to solve solutions, because 95% we are always solving problems. Every day we are solving problems, solving details, solving fire escape routes. These are all mental exercises, and I think that's why I think education is very, you wouldn't realize, but it's very, I think, important. It puts a seed in you, and then later years you see the benefit. And Tadoando or Rem Koolhaas, movie maker, or producer, I think he was a producer, or he didn't really in the first place study architecture. There are people like this, but they are extremely rare.
Yes, I agree with you. So, guys, and I'm appreciating, and I'm really thankful to Mr. Buğrahan Şirin for his contribution, for his conversation, for his honest sharing today and this evening. That was a privileged situation for me and for all the participants this evening to hear you, to listen to you, Buğrahan. So thanks a lot very much. It's
Thank
a
you.
great pleasure and honor for me to share the times with you. And I hope that we will meet physically also in the healthier days in the future. And we would also like to invite you to the university in the coming future. And
Yes.
thanks a lot. Thank you very much for
I
all
thank
your
you.
for your
I
contributions.
think this
So
is
the
a
last
great,
word,
yeah, this is a
yeah,
great platform. Just to say one sentence like that, we could all meet here. That we don't have to physically go anywhere. So this is very easy, nice, and we can do this again and again. The
yeah,
topic today was not that joyful, I think. We could make it like more colorful buildings and designs and talk about a lot of things. But I think this is something that we have to talk about it. You know, we have to talk about it. I also try to push this topic in the professional world, because in the professional world we also don't think about it, because the companies are competing with each other. They don't want to talk about fees, architectural costs and things. But I think it should be transparently discussed and talked about the financial
exactly.
background of our business, so that we could all benefit further from our profession. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Mine Hocam, maybe you can finish.
Thank you. Buğrahan, thank you for this interesting presentation. It's been great having you here. I've kept an eye on the live Instagram feed as well, and people commented, "This is so useful. Thank you." So you had good comments from there as well.
Happy.
We have a little tradition here in ArchiDesign Talks. As Bahçeşehir University Faculty of Architecture and Design, we donate to TEMA in our guest's name. So now you have 5 young trees in a memorial forest in Eskişehir.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much for
Okay,
all
thank
of
you.
your
That's great.
time and
Great
effort.
present. Okay. No, five had Mr. Fedma had 5, I have 5, and we are,
Yes,
if you
yes.
do further lectures, we will have a forest. It's good.
Yes, I hope you do that. Thank you very much once
Thank
again
you.
for your
Thank you.
contribution,
Thank you, everybody.
dear Buğrahan.